Good morning, Marianas. So many things we gotta discuss. Happy day, Tirawami greetings to Rhoda, Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. For all your island news, from a beautiful place with Pacific views, it's always so much fun on Good Morning Marianas.
Good morning, Marianas. Good morning, everybody. Holy smokes. Did you realize today is Friday? We made it to the weekend. Whew. Just a few more hours, a few more hours, a few more hours. That's right. Your 5 days of terribleness about to turn into 2 days of pure bliss. Now, some of you guys are going to be cannibalists for sure. Hey, but it's been a heck of a week so far. Good morning, everybody. It is great to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in for another edition of Good Morning Marianas. All right, so I've got a bait and switch for you, apparently. No, not really. I'm kidding. But I do have a little change going on today. We had a guest coming in. We were going to have John Gonzalez come in today. But he sent me a message yesterday asking if he could come in next week, just because the campaign trail is blazing, too hot. He's got a lot of stuff to do, so he asked if he could do it next week. Tadza problema telu. Not a problem at all. We'll have him come in next week. He'll be in on the 25th, which will be really cool. We'll look forward to having him in studio then. I'll bust out my coolest spondylus to see if I could still shine next to his massive Sinahi of power and might. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we'll be happy to have him come in and join us next week on the 25th. Today's a big day, too, because we're going to be down at the luncheon for the visiting former president of the Philippines, and that is going to be super cool. That's going to take place later this morning, 11:30, over at Crown Plaza. It's going to be very cool. Very thankful that I get to go to that thing, and I mean, how often do you get to go and see a former president of any country? I mean, maybe you guys are cooler than me. Probably, let's just say you're probably cooler. And you probably have that like all the time. I did get to meet Tommy Romengasao. That was really cool. And so I got to meet him, and there was my first presidential experience. This will be my second. Hopefully, I mean, yeah, we're going to try to get the selfies, all that stuff. Guaranteed, we're going to do that. Oh my gosh, I'm just looking at my main screen. I did a lot of stuff getting ready for the show today. One thing I didn't do, I don't believe, was update that ticker. So I got to take that out of there until I can take a commercial break and fix that with it. But there are a lot of big headlines today. And one of the biggest headlines from yesterday, we're going to be talking about today because we have, oh, here we go. Because we have the Assistant Attorney General who was prosecuting a couple of pretty big cases. He's coming into our studio this morning, and he'll be on with us at 8 o'clock. Jim Bob Kingman. You hear him, James Robert Kingman. You see him in the paper all the time. You've heard the interviews and stuff like that. He's going to give us a rundown about pretty much a little his arrival to the Marianas and everything, like a 101 on the whole case that he's been working on and where it's at right now, and a little bit of where it's going to go. I can't imagine it's going to be like a pro football coach who's going to be like, all right, so here you go. Here's our strategy for the next play. I'm going to hand the ball off to this guy, and he's going to run all the way up. He's probably not going to give us the whole playbook. But he's definitely going to be giving us some real insight that you normally don't get with regards to cases. Now, I know the case is still going, so there's probably some tricky stuff that they can talk about, they can't talk about. But, you know, we got a great press release that we were able to put out to you guys. Nobody else put out anything, so we gave you what we got. And so we're going to continue to try to keep that info train going on everything that's happening. And I'm really interested in doing that. You know, just like we're going to have all the candidates for the delegate position come into the studio to talk about what they want to do. I want to get everybody. And by the way, that means everybody. Like, I don't just, we are not just leaning one way. on how we cover this kind of stuff. So if you're interested in talking about it from a different perspective, by all means, I'd love to have you on here and let people know about it. Hey, good morning, Sophia. Thanks for tuning in. Tobot, of course, and Ann, good to see you guys, as always. Sean, good to see you out there, too. And it's almost like Romper Room, where they used to end the show. It's good to see you, Jimmy and Tommy and all that. Anyway, we've got all that coming up today. So if you want to come in and give us a little insight about something that you're doing, whether it's your government organization, your non-government organization, your public organization, your business, you got something cool going on. Just like we had the folks over from Marianas Got Talent yesterday. They came on because they want to tell us they want to tell the community about what they're going on. And they got some cool stuff going on. Like last night they had the busking down there in Guerrero. Again, that's the kind of thing that people want to get out. Hey, Piling, thanks for tuning in. Good to see you too. So whenever we got cool, stuff happening, if you have something happening, maybe you just want to get something off your chest, that kind of stuff, that's what we're looking for, because that's what makes the show better. So we'll have, again, Assistant Attorney General Jim Bob Kingman going to be coming in at the 8 o'clock hour. He'll probably pop in here a little bit beforehand, and I'll throw it to like the AP update so that you guys can, I'll make sure that he fits in just fine on the chair, and the backdrop that we got all set up for him. So that'll only be like 3 minutes or something like that. But it's going to be good stuff because, we talked about it a lot yesterday, and we talked a lot about it with, albeit with some limited information, right? So like there's some things that we know a lot about, some things that we just don't, plenty of things that we just don't, that's it. But the stuff with the courts, I mean, it's really in depth. Like between yesterday and today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got like 8 different filings for the court. Hold on, let me find. Including one of the big ones that we're going to go over tomorrow, or later today. And it was, Judge Pro Tem Arthur Barcenas' decision to disqualify the Attorney General's office from prosecuting the charges, or even bringing charges against the former governor, right? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So we have the ruling. I've got it up on the screen too. I'll show you everything because that's what we do. I didn't post it, but I will post it for you guys too. The entire ruling, and we'll give you like a little like a roadmap of how we got there too. That's kind of what today is. So not just to talk about what just happened and then that's it, but to give you like the whole, like it's 101. Let you know the whole thing, where it started, how it got to where it was, how this guy even got to Saipan, and where we're going to be going from there. So that's going to be the good news. So I see some of you guys just tuning in. He's going to be in here. Excuse me. How about that? He's going to be in here at 8 o'clock. That's when we're going to start our interview with the AAG. So we're looking forward to that. It's really a treat. If you guys haven't gotten to hear something like that before, it's because it doesn't happen very often. This is going to be a great opportunity for us to hear right from the horse's mouth, someone who's been intimately involved with this whole process since it started. And he's going to give us a lot of the facts, and he's probably going to share a little bit of opinion along the way. I expect to hear that. And that's going to be, that's one of those nuggets that you hope to get, that you can hope to hear. I mean, like, they don't ask, like, athletes after the game how they feel about it because they just want some robot answer. They might want to know some of the methodology they had going after some of the things that they did. But, it humanizes the whole thing. And hearing how that's going to work out is going to be really interesting to me, like how that whole process went. So hold on. I just created a folder for this one, decision. And this is the folder I'm going to make. So later I'm going to put this stuff up, not in the comment section, but I'll post the entire judge's decision on there. And it's 16 pages. I mean, it's we're not going to read page for page because you're not going to want to listen to that anyway. But we are going to put it up there for you. So if you really are interested in it, you can read the whole thing yourself. And that's half of, like, that's really most of what I'm doing for you. I don't want to tell you how to think ever. But I do want you to have the information so you can make the decisions on your own. You know, deport to Mog. That's awesome. That is so funny, Tobot. Tobot, you never cease to kill me, man. You're hilarious. Hey, Ed, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, thanks for here. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get set up because he's just walking in the door now. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to give you guys the update from the Associated Press. And so you're going to be good to go. And then after that, we'll get this party started. Sound like a deal? All right, put your hands in. Ready? 1, 2, 3, ready, break.
AP News, I'm Jackie Quinn. Tonight brings Donald Trump's acceptance speech, and stocks fell again today. But our top story this hour is the death of comedian and actor Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart, best remembered for 2 hit sitcoms as a therapist in the 70s and an innkeeper in the 80s. The Newhart Show ending with that famous dream scene.
I was an innkeeper in this crazy little town in Vermont.
That settles it. No more Japanese food before you go to bed.
Bob Newhart, dead at age 94. All 3 major indexes dropped on Wall Street. The Dow gave back 533 points. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ were down 0.7%. Unemployment saw a blip up 20,000 new claims. Now to politics. Vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance today on the presidential nominee Donald Trump.
This is a guy who delivered for social conservatives more than any president in my 39 years of life.
Trump is vowing a speech of unity. Vice President Kamala Harris stumped in North Carolina, blasting last night's convention speech.
Under Donald Trump, America lost tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs.
And President Biden is at his Delaware home after testing positive for COVID-19. He's facing new pressure to drop his presidential bid.
Sources say former President Obama has privately expressed concerns to Democrats about his former running mate's campaign. Ex-House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has privately warned the president Democrats might not win the House if he stays in. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A new warning from the NTSB about smoking pot and then driving. Crash in Oklahoma in 2022 killed 6 teenagers. This is AP News. There's more information about the alleged gunman who fired a deadly shot at Donald Trump's Pennsylvania rally last weekend. Our Mike Hempen reports.
2 people familiar with the investigation say the man who tried to assassinate Donald Trump, Thomas Matthew Crooks, had looked up dates for the Democratic National Convention as well as Trump's appearances. People familiar with the investigation say the shooter also had searched for major depressive disorder. On Sunday, an FBI official said there was no indication of any mental health issues. Mike Hempen, Washington.
Boeing says it's closer to understanding what went wrong with its astronaut capsule in orbit, now that testing's complete on a spare thruster here on Earth. The Starliner capsule should have returned with its test pilots in mid-June, but it remains docked at the International Space Station. I'm Jackie Quinn, AP News.
Player number 14, Deleon.
It's a great day to be up 3-0. I'll tell you that. It probably is not great to be down.
I'm Brad Rosala, and I'm the owner for Commonwealth Communications.
And I am Jojo Alipuzu. I am the owner of Island Image and Ocean.
And this is our joint venture, Sideline Studios. This whole concept that we have of doing all these live stream productions and covering news and doing live shows and everything, it wouldn't happen if we didn't have a great partner like IT&E, someone who can handle the bandwidth and provide it and then get us what we need when we need it, and then be a real partner for us for all the events, whether we're doing live sporting events, broadcasts. All of these things happen because of our partnership with IT&E.
With IT&E providing us with the fiber and point-to-point and even the MBRs is just a great piece of equipment to use when we're broadcasting our sports, our events, our performances, especially our cultural performances. And it's just great to share our culture here in the Marianas with the world. And ITNE has been there from the get-go.
The thing I like best about working with ITNE is how willing they are to come out and find a solution. Even for Liberation Day, we thought we had a pretty good solution for our live stream setup, and it turns out that we did not have the right setup that we thought we needed. That day, just before the parade, reached out to Paul and said, here's our situation. What do you think? He's like, we're gonna figure this out. While he's sitting there barbecuing, getting ready for the parade to start, he starts burning up the phone lines, calling everybody in ITNE, what can we do, what's the right solution? They left their families to do this stuff and get us the equipment that we needed to broadcast live. That's over and above. That's on a holiday. That's when he was out there spending time with his family.
That's why ITNE is just the best, just really in touch with the people and the community.
I recommend ITNE to everybody. Tell them the options are there, and you could choose whoever you want and then figure out what you think is the best. But when you're ready, when you're tired of having your calls disconnected or not having service, then you reach out to the guys from ITNE.
Oh, that's a new music bed for us right there. You're familiar with that. Good morning, Marianas. It is a great day. Thanks for getting in here. Oh, I know. Hey, sorry. I am coming back. Sorry, Ann. I'm back. Anyway, we had a real quick break because we want to get all squared away. Our special guest is here today. It's before 8 o'clock. He's here early, which is great because we don't want to mess around. We want to get to business, and he's got some crime fighting to do anyway, so we want to get him out of here and onto that as soon as we can. But, I'd say give him a big round of applause, but maybe you guys can give him a big comment of applause over there. Welcome. CNMI Assistant Attorney General James Kingman is with us in studio. So good morning. Thanks for coming in. Hey, well, it would help if I unmuted your microphone. Okay. Everyone will hear you this time. Hey, well, thanks for coming in. I know this is, it came up yesterday, reached out to try and see if you were available to help educate us a little bit about everything that's been going on. And maybe we'll go all the way back to the beginning, but maybe to our viewers, maybe this is their first time getting to know you for some of them. So can you tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do out here?
Sure. Glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation. This is a long-going saga, so obviously could help having a little bit of refresher on kind of the timeline of everything. I'm happy to help clarify any of that. My name is Jim Kingman. I am from a town in Texas called Corsicana that has a connection to Micronesia that goes back to the Trust Territory days. So my little community actually has a pretty sizable population from FSM and Palau, and now a few folks from Saipan as well. So I've always been interested in practicing out here, and last February was reached out to come and do a 10-week long short assignment to try to assist with a trial. All that I knew was that it was the former governor, and I agreed because I thought when a friend asks for help, you help them.
Yeah, and so considerably longer than 10 weeks. Right?
At this point, we're at 15 months.
All right, so I know this stuff, the ball started rolling before you got here on this case. So can you tell us where you came into the whole thing, and then maybe start talking about the basis of the case?
Sure, and I came in midstream and didn't even have access to the files or anything until I got out here to the Marianas. The only thing that I knew was what was available in newspaper records that I could Google after they asked me to come out here. But since then, obviously, I've become very familiar with what led to the charges being brought that I was going to be prosecuting. And the first thing I did was just become familiar with the case. And since then, obviously, I've had quite a bit of time to become familiar with just about all of the processes. So the charges that were filed and brought relate to misconduct in public office relating to taking first-class flights in an unauthorized manner and using his office to authorize that outside of what the regulations were. By the time I came into the case, those were the only charges, and then plus theft, which was the accumulation of all of the money, the value that those first-class flights would be. When the charges were originally filed, there was also a charge of contempt because, and that kind of relates to how the charges ultimately came about. Back in 2020, or 2019 and 2020, there was an investigation by the House and Senate committees, a few different legislative investigative committees relating to some alleged misspending, misappropriation of public money by the former governor. And that ultimately led to an impeachment inquiry. It led to an impeachment. Then he was acquitted by the Senate. But during the process of that original inquiry, they issued a subpoena to come and testify. And Mr. Torres did not come. And so the House certified a certification of contempt, which is required for the AG to bring contempt. They can't just do it themselves. It has to be referred over. And so that was incorporated into what the original charge was. Now, there had been a lot of activity on the case before I came in, so that portion had already been struck out of the original charge by the time I came in.
The contempt.
The contempt charge, yeah. After when I came in, there was a trial date set for June the 5th of 2023. I started April 1st, planning on just getting the trial ready to roll. However, after I got here, there were a couple big changes. The first was that the judge that had done the pretrial rulings, Judge Pro Tem from Guam, Judge Tolentino, had to step away from the case, and he recused himself. It was not for conflict reasons; it was for personal reasons.
I think we heard it was health.
And I don't know any of the details about that. He just issued an order of self-recusal. I had heard also that it's health, but I don't know any facts, nor do I feel like I can talk about it if I did. Then there started to be a flurry of motions from the defense asking for reconsideration of some of Judge Tolentino's rulings. These were filed actually before Judge Tolentino recused himself, and then a new judge was appointed after those had been filed and briefed. That judge is named Judge Barcenas, and that's the judge that's from Guam that's here. I mean, it's important to note that all of the local Superior Court judges had recused themselves, and so a Judge Pro Tem, is what they call it, had been appointed from Guam. I objected to Judge Barcenas' appointment because he actually had already been appointed on the, so when that contempt charge was brought about the subpoena, Mr. Torres had actually sued the legislature saying that it was invalid for them to be having a subpoena that applies to him, right? Now, that case was, he lost that case, and so he appealed it. When it went to the Supreme Court, all of those judges, justices, recused themselves, and so they had to create a panel, and one of the members of that panel was Judge Barcenas, serving as a justice pro tem. So he was serving already as an appellate judge on the same matter. Now, I think that, so there wasn't a clear, the order was, if you have an objection, just raise it in writing, which is what I did. But Judge Barcenas said that was not a conflict, which, that's fine. I've had judges make adverse rulings before. It's not a problem. But I just felt like I needed to build the record. Now, all of that happened very quick. In May of 2023, the trial setting, the pretrial hearing was set in early May, and both sides agreed, okay, we've got some pretrial matters to deal with. Let's reset the trial. Now, typically that, I figured that meant a month. Instead, we did not get a scheduling order ever. And there were several other motions that continued to be filed. A civil action challenging my contract. The challenge, so because of that delay, obviously my original stint, I was here as a pro hoc vice is what it's called, one case specifically, because I was not going to be an employee of the Commonwealth. I didn't think I would be here for a 2-year-long contract, right? I had taken a leave of absence from my law firm back in the States. Whenever the trial got pushed off without there being a scheduling order put in at all, the firm said, we can't just wait for you forever. So you've got to either come home and drop this or stay out there and we'll see you down the road. And so I decided that, this is, at that point, I had been here for a few months and I was like, if I walk away from this, I don't know who else they'd be able to get to come out here to handle this. It's important, and I'd like to see things through. So then I was in a position where I was like, well, I need a job. So they had announced that they were reviving this public integrity task force. At this point, the administration had been gone for about 5 months, and I think there was a lot of recognition that of the scope and scale of what matters needed to be looked into. All of them would have required the same set of problems that they needed whenever they brought me out here. And so they appointed me the managing prosecutor for the Public Integrity Task Force, which is Department of Public Safety, Office of the Public Auditor, and the AG's office. And then once I became an employee, I was sworn in under the government, they call it temporary admission, but that's what all of the government and public service attorneys out here operate under. And that started a problem where the defense said that because I took the oath for that, but not for pro hoc vice, then that meant that I had been practicing law without a license. Of course, they ignored all of the other pro hoc vice attorneys that have ever been out here. But it just kind of, at that point, I was about June, July of last year, I was like, oh, they're going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, and that's fine. I'll just, knock them down each one. And that's kind of been the nature of it. Once rulings starting being made that didn't match with what I expected, I sort of recognized that this was probably going to be inevitable, that despite it not being a decision I agree with, there would be a determination that the governor cannot be prosecuted, and that's ultimately what it seems that this judge has done.
Yeah, and that's the part that gets us, that we were talking about yesterday quite some bit. So on the ruling yesterday, it sounded like, really, when we talked about it yesterday, when we were talking about it, was that it sounded like exactly that the governor has to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate and bring charges against himself. Like, there's nobody else who can do it now based on that ruling. Are we interpreting that correct?
Well, he says the executive branch. The Commonwealth has a very unified executive branch. Almost everything operates under the governor. The only exception, though, is the Attorney General, and that's a new policy. With Attorney General Manabusin is the first elected Attorney General. There's some real irony in this, because the whole reason that there was a referendum, and it's HLI 17 is what they call it. It's a House Legislative Initiative that changed the structure of the Commonwealth to create an independently elected AG. And that is because of exact problems like this. It was because the AG was serving exclusively at the pleasure of the governor, and so was eminently fireable and under his control if he didn't do things that he wanted. There's value in having an independent part of the government. Additionally, all legal services are through the Attorney General too, and so that's it makes it particularly unique here and idiosyncratic. That you have to kind of look at the practicalities of it. What that means is that the mechanism for having independent prosecution has already been created, and through 10 years ago, making an independent AG, and the judge seems to be reversing that. And yes, you're right. If everyone is operating under the executive except for one person, and that person, AG, is unable to make the decision, then fundamentally the governor or one of his direct appointees who operate at his pleasure are the only people that would be able to do anything about the governor's behavior. So
the Attorney General's office itself is really in charge of bringing criminal charges against anybody out here in our Superior Court, right? I mean, that's who the body is that does that. So I don't understand how the office. So in his ruling, is he just ruling against the Attorney General himself as an individual, even in his professional capacity, that he's disqualified because he authored some other advice, and then as a subsequence of all that, like everybody else, or a consequence of that, everybody else who works under that office is unable to operate with impunity because of that?
It sounds like he's saying that regardless of what procedures are put in, screening procedures of any kind, including never being on the other side of the planet and never having heard of anything, let alone offered legal advice out here, that absolutely anything that touches the AG is somehow tainted. He's the expenditure authority. There's not even like in the federal system, even special prosecutors are part of the Department of Justice, right? So during the Saturday Night Massacre, which is whenever Nixon ordered his Attorney General to fire Archibald Cox during the Watergate investigations, it had to go down the line until they finally had the AG resigned, the deputy AG resigned. The third guy in line, a guy that later became famous for failing a Supreme Court nomination, was finally the one that said, "Fine, I'll fire him." But that chain of command, right? We base a lot of the stuff that we do out here on the federal government, just because there's the most amount to build with. There's not a separate office. Palau has a separate office. Even whenever there's a provision for the public auditor's attorneys to bring cases, but even then they are specially designated as assistant attorney generals. Their filings are under the auspices of the attorney general. That's where the prosecuting authority comes from.
So what? So basically, all this stuff stemmed from the investigations from the House of Representatives. The JGO committee ended up forwarding this over to the Attorney General's office. Attorney General's office reviews it, says, "Yep, we're going to take the next step. We're going to take it to court. Take it to court. You're running through the whole process. You've got some things that seem like delay tactics. That's what you would do if you're trying to do the best for your client, right?" And then the judge makes a ruling saying, "Well, all that's well and good, but now the Attorney General's office can't prosecute the governor." Now, would that change if there's a new Attorney General? That's number one. If that person at the top changes out, and number two, does it just sit there now? I mean, is this the end of it?
I don't know if there was a different Attorney General, if that would remedy what the taint is imputed to be by the judge, because I don't actually see a taint. I truly don't understand what conflict it is that he's identified. So I imagine that no matter what we do, they're going to claim that there's a taint. And I think if we asked, they originally, the defense was originally who said that there should be a special prosecutor. Now, I think that they would have preferred it that it was a special prosecutor that was selected from someone directly under the governor, for probably pretty obvious reasons.
Well, that's what happened in the Senate during the impeachment proceedings here. I'm not sure that you paid attention to any of that. The Senate president at the time, Jude Hofschneider, who's the senator from Tinian, and he's the one who started getting that ball rolling. Say, look, the governor can have his own legal counsel, whoever he chooses, but they were limiting the person who's going to bring it forward from the House to the House Speaker or the Vice Speaker, neither of which have backgrounds in law, and so basically limited them to be able to prosecute as they saw fit.
Right, and the impeachments, I think it's important to remember, like, even though there might be criminal cases that stem out of that, impeachments are fundamentally political operations. They're not courts of law. They're not. They don't have the same rules. I hate to say both sides, but you'll often see the argument that, well, this impeachment happened, therefore this criminal result has to happen, or this criminal result can't happen because impeachment didn't happen, right? They are separate with separate standards of how to operate. That being said, that doesn't mean that impeachment is not valuable. Nor do I believe that a criminal case that doesn't end in a conviction is inherently invaluable. It's not. Transparency and openness is about process, not about results. The political branches can pursue that in one way. The courts are supposed to be the backstop. That's why there's more strict rules about what can be presented than there would be in the political realm.
Well, and what we were getting to is about the process. You were saying that, like, now that they would probably prefer, just that was more of a guess or an assumption, that they would prefer to pick their own special prosecutor, or at least be a part of that conversation, which doesn't make sense to me, right? I mean, I understand their perspective, why they would want to, clearly, but it doesn't make sense to me, like, from an objective point of view. If you're bringing in a special prosecutor, you want somebody who's going to be able to take it in pretty blank.
Right. I mean, that certainly would be, defendant. It's tricky, right? Because this defendant is also the person that's the head of the executive branch. In most cases, obviously, defendants can pick their defense lawyers, but they can't pick their prosecutors.
Right.
But whenever you're talking about it being someone that's directly under his chain of command, the only person that is not under that chain of command that's within the executive branch is the AG.
So, I mean, and there's nobody else to do it, right, under that, unless the governor decides to appoint someone on his own, and which I guess could happen now, right? I mean, the current governor could appoint somebody?
I don't really know. I mean, the court could. There's a provision for special prosecutor appointment by the courts. It's not clear if the governor can appoint a special prosecutor. It's sort of, sometimes I call it like Air Bud logic, right? Like, if there's a difference between unlawful and illegal, right? And it never says anywhere that a dog can't play basketball, right? Like, does that mean that a dog can play basketball, or does it mean that, like, no, we've got to, it has to be laid out what is authorized and not authorized? And I've heard both ways of thinking argued. Personally, I think that in a young jurisdiction like this, where there's so many unprecedented scenarios that pop up and a lot of idiosyncrasies in how it operates, it should be permitted unless it is prohibited.
So, so my limited experience watching Law and Order and shows of the like, and covering the courts a little bit out here. The next step, I would imagine, even though the office was ruled disqualified by the judge pro tem in this case, still bringing those charges would give you the ability to appeal this case to the Superior Court, I'm guessing, or Supreme Court, sorry.
Yeah, this is an appealable order for sure. This is because, I mean, the island's small. This is not the first time that there's been allegations of conflict of interest. And so the procedure for challenging that, whether it's someone that was trying to get a judge removed off a case, or whether it was attorneys being removed, those have been appealed before and litigated before the Supreme Court. So yeah, there is a mechanism to appeal it, and you know the AG's office, that lower court ruling does not divest jurisdiction from being able to appeal its own cases. You know, we're the subject of the opinion, so we can seek recourse.
So would it be possible, though, that this judge pro tem would become part of that panel if they did it again and we had the same recusal issues?
I certainly hope that would not be repeated, especially since it's, one thing that was different is that, it was not the same case number, right? It was a civil action brought by the defendant about the subject matter that was appealed that he was on, as opposed to the trial level of the criminal side. And to be fair, that contempt charge had been struck by that point. I would have found that to be too close, but there's a limited pool, I guess, of judges. I mean, really, under the pro tem rules, there's actually not a limited pool, but when the Supreme Court appointed Judge Barcinas to be on the trial court level, I assume they knew what they were doing. This would be a different thing because it would be appealing his order, right? Mm-hmm. I can't imagine that they would put him on the panel.
So this is more about the process, I guess, than the actual individual, but still, for some context, there's a lot of people who are pretty upset about the ruling. I've seen like all the comments in the newspapers. I've seen from some of the elected leaders, they disagree with it. I know you don't think it was the best choice ever. I think that's maybe an understatement, the way the ruling went. But is there a process in place for reviewing of the judges when they do these kind of pro tem things? Does someone take a look, or does somebody grade them afterwards? Is there a sanctioning body if someone did something improper? What would that look like, or who would that be?
So in theory, there is a process for judicial misconduct, which is, would include just getting it wrong a bunch of times, or something more malicious. Either would be considered judicial misconduct. So that's what it was called, a judicial disciplinary process. Now, this is a small jurisdiction, so it's not like there is constantly a board. In New York, there's judges that all they do is review the work of other judges, right? Because they've got throughput. So everything is going to have to be kind of trying it out for the first time. Now, there have been judicial disciplinary action type things that have come before. I think what you're asking, though, is for selection purposes and kind of review. There used to be a provision in the code for special judges as opposed to judges pro tem. And at a certain point, they shifted over to judges pro tem, which is a constitutional power and doesn't have as much of the statutory language about the special judges. There was a list of what judges were kind of certified to being out here. Pro tem is a lot broader. I don't know why they moved from one to the other. It seems like because this jurisdiction has so many things that are unique about it. Let's say, for example, there's a land dispute that involves Article 12, and all of the judges, for whatever reason, also everyone's got big families, so I could think of plenty of reasons why have to recuse themselves. rather than picking randomly out of a hat out of 10,000, possible judges, I think there would be some value in being like, okay, someone knows the CNMI somewhat. I think that kind of process, typically what you see is some sort of administrative regional judge, but those are almost always in states that are bigger and have a board making sure that one part of the state is getting the same access to justice as another. It's very tricky whenever you have a sort of independent entity that is not that has its own rules, and should that be determined by the federal government? Maybe. Or could we enter into some sort of compact with other territories that have similar issues, territories and states? Maybe. Ways to do that, sure, but I certainly think that there should be a regular review of judicial conduct and decisions.
Yeah, I wonder about that because we have the benefit of having Guam pretty much next door, right? Even if it costs $1,000 to get a plane ticket to get there, it's still pretty much next door. Sorry, United. But are we able to reach out further? I mean, are we limited to Guam? Are we able to reach out to California and get a judge pro tem from somewhere in their state legal system? Is that something that's possible?
Yes. We're not limited to Guam or even Hawaii. There's probably some value in staying within the Ninth Circuit, just because those judges, we operate under Ninth Circuit precedent, but that still is a whole lot of judges that would be possible to assist. A lot of this stuff could be done remotely, but I honestly think that being out here is the best way to really see how the courts are administered and what works, what doesn't work, what needs improvement, and it is fundamentally different than what my expectations were. And I've worked in some pretty under-resourced jurisdictions. There's a lot of every small jurisdiction has a set of concerns and problems, and this place has those. Every large one does too, right? There's no perfect thing, but there are a set of challenges and obstacles here that I think only exist here, and it would be difficult for a judge to, from the other side of the world, just read filings and kind of be able to grok what's going on. Maybe we should bring a judge out for an extended period of time. There used to be writing circuit. There's a lot of possible ways to deal with what the perceptions are about the failures of judicial administration. And I'm not, I've got suggestions, but no guarantees of what a perfect solution would be, because we've been trying to get this law thing right for 10,000 years, and we're still tweaking it. I just know that we have to take into account the basic principles of you can't be a judge in your own case, and you have to have a due process that honors both parties.
So are you able to tell us, is this a decision that the office is going to appeal?
Yes, we'll appeal this decision. I mean, the implications of the decision are really fundamentally change the nature of the AG's office. This is not just about one case. There's an obligation to appeal this.
Yeah, it does sound like pretty emasculating for the office, right? I mean, it takes away a lot of the power from the Attorney General's office that would eliminate them from being able to do the job of the Attorney General's office.
Well, I certainly think that there have been limitations put on the ability of the Attorney General's office to do its job before this. This is really taking away the choice that the people made by making the AG independently elected. I think that's there haven't been a ton of decisions in the history of this place that were made by the people. And one of them was, okay, we want to have some independence to be able to monitor corruption coming out of the governor's office. That unfortunately, this is not the first time that there's been a head of the executive branch under accusations of criminal conduct. I think that decision to do that and create an independently elected AG shows a lot of promise and shows that there can be adjustment. We set up the system, we've gone for 30 years, and here are some flaws that we found. Okay, how are we going to fix this? Like, that's good. That's what you want democracies to be doing. And so to have a judge undermine that by saying that the AG cannot, that the only entity that can prosecute the executive is the executive itself, but not the AG. It creates a really big problem procedurally, but it also has a larger implication about the efforts to try to correct and improve the system.
And so I haven't looked up this at all, but we had Senator Babal to come on yesterday and talk about it, saying that the judge ruled about a similar case like this, about the separation of the powers, and he ruled just the opposite in a case in Guam. Are you familiar with any of that?
Well, I do know that the AG's office there, like here, has both criminal prosecution and civil advice obligations, and the Guamanian Attorney General made a choice to stop representing on the civil side the places where they were doing criminal investigations. I understand that, and I don't know if it's what bearing that would have, particularly on binding rules, because we have a different system and structure than they do. I have mostly seen that civil and criminal legal, government lawyer jobs typically are separated, but not always. And in Texas, where I'm from, the first couple of jurisdictions I worked in, the district attorney was also the function as the county attorney also, right? So that was the county was the government agency or the government department for them. So it's not uncommon. The difference, though, is that those places have overlapping jurisdiction. There are statewide and statewide oversight, and you can easily kick something that you say, hey, we've got to recuse ourselves off of this, send it to the county next door, or send it up the chain, tell an administrative judge, and then they reassign it. We don't have any of those mechanisms here. So I understand there's a real challenge with the AG here and there, trying to make sure that the civil and criminal parts don't mix. That's why here they're in two different sides of the island. With my task force, which we are looking into government agencies because we're the Public Integrity Task Force. We are hived off from both the criminal and civil divisions, both not just physically but with our files, everything. That is the least bad way to do a hard thing. It certainly isn't perfect. Anytime that you're having to, everyone's having to wear a lot of different hats, it becomes challenging. The idea of conflicts of interest here is not uniformly applied. Sometimes when it's convenient, they'll say there's a conflict and we're all done, and sometimes they'll ignore a really brazen conflict. My preference would be just pick one and stick with it, and so that way everyone knows what the rules are. But I certainly know that my agency and my team, we do everything we can to avoid improper conflicts of interest or communication, anything like that. If there's a agency advisor that is serving as a legal advisor, that's I'm not like working with that person in an investigation, right? If there's if there's an investigation going on into an agency. I understand what Senator Babauta is saying, that this is a matter that Guam has faced also and come out with a different solution, but I just don't know if that's necessarily binding here.
Well, let me get back to the other part that we were talking about as far as what's next. You said that this is something that you're going to appeal. The office is going to appeal.
Correct.
That's going to go to our Supreme Court. They're going to make a ruling. They'll get people about it and all. If for some reason it doesn't go your way, the way you'd rather have them, so that you can continue doing this, is that the end of the line? Is there a next step that's possible after that? I know you're probably taking it incrementally. Well, we don't have to worry about that yet, but in the event that did happen, is that the end of it?
I'm still planning on. I'll still be the managing prosecutor for the Public Integrity Task Force. If this particular case is, they say it can't be brought by the AG, and then there's not I assume that. So that would also require that any of the that no one else appoints a special prosecutor, right, with the authority. After an appeal to the Supreme Court here, we would have to review to just see what the decision would be. But they,
is there a higher court beyond this? Is that
sure? We would appeal to the federal system,
okay.
Or depending on what they rule, they may issue a ruling that remedies what I consider to be my confusion about the decision, and that wouldn't be my call anyway. Appealing things is actually specifically a case about it right after the AG became first independently elected. It was called Torres v. Manabusan, and it was Ralph Torres versus Ed Manabusan, but it was a certified question case. So it was not; they were not necessarily opposing parties. They wanted clarification from the Supreme Court about, okay, what does this mean? And the issue was on appeals. If the governor wants, it was the gun decision, right? If the governor wants there to be an appeal and the AG says no, who's got the authority? And the Supreme Court said that it was the AG. So, when I say we're going to appeal, it's not my decision. It's very specifically it's the AG of where we're going to appeal or not. I certainly don't. That barrier of there's. I don't talk about this case with the AG. My managing prosecution role with the task force, I confer with him on cases then, but that's when I was designated special prosecutor, that was the understanding, what special prosecutors are. He can obviously fire me, and he, signs my checks, but that's not, it's not the, there's some language in there about taking direction and instruction. Yeah, he told me where the office was and gave me the keys, but that's, I explained that in filings, but seemed to have not been persuasive to the judge.
So now let's just say things on your appeal do go the way of the government side, and you're going back at it again. You've got experience in this. I don't know if you've experienced something as similar as this, but when you do get a judgment that overrules the ruling of the court that you're in, do you feel like you still got a fair shake with the judge that you're going to be going in front of?
Well, I can't really see how it'll get any worse.
Right. Okay. So, and if that happens, do you at that point do you ask again to have a different judge preside over the case? Because that happened at some point, right?
Yeah. If there's people have asked for judges to be disqualified in other cases before, I think that we would. It's premature to say whether or not we would be doing that.
Okay. Well, I know that we're just lucky to have you on to talk about this stuff, so I really appreciate it. And I know we got a lot of folks. Oh, what's that? I like that. Tobot Kasher, one of our regular viewers, says it should be like MMA, regardless if you're friends or training partners. It's the partner of the job, and it has to get the job done. He's just talking about getting it done, going to work, and knocking it out. I love it. This dude's great. Again, I know we're lucky to have you in here and to talk about some of this stuff. Is there anything else you'd like to share about it?
This community and this place has been, it's the most interesting place in the world, and people have been reaching out to me to ask if I'm okay after this decision. Assuming that I'd be angry or frustrated on the first flight out of here. I'm more than okay. This is a really incredible place. Every day I find something really interesting, and if you're a curious person that wants to help people, I can think of no better place on earth. I write if people are interested in reading what my thoughts are about Saipan. I don't really talk about ongoing investigations or cases, but I do talk a lot about history and my experiences and observations. And that's on Substack. It's jimbobkingman.substack.com. And you see me around. I'm pretty conspicuous. Feel free to come up and talk to me. I'm an open book, and I really care about this place.
Yeah, I signed up for that just so I could read some of that stuff, Substacks. And if you see my profile, you got to read what the description is. I think it's pretty funny. Now, speaking of funny, I will ask you one more question here about, I've seen a lot of great photos of you in the paper. I want to ask which one's your favorite. So we have, these are the many faces of you in our local media. I see there's been some good choices, and then there's been some, I'm fresh out of my, my modeling shoot here. Do you have any favorites of any of these?
I think that the one with the microphone, that one, yeah. And the one with the microphones in my face, because that was, I stopped and was answering a question, and I just pulled a screenshot where my mouth was half open. That one.
There's another version of that one.
Yeah.
I just didn't get them both.
I sort of, the longer I've gotten here, I've kind of realized that it doesn't matter if I send him a headshot. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be what it is. It's funny. It adds to the kind of, honestly, it adds to some of the broader issues here, is that I think that there is, everyone's got their own motivations. Everyone's got their own obligations. And sometimes those are family. Sometimes those are business. Sometimes they're thinking, I don't want to blow up this partnership that's going to be here in 20 years over a case that's going to be gone in 2. I get it. It's funny that I think that some of the tactics have been to just kind of frustrate me by having silly pictures of me in the paper. I couldn't care less. It's funny.
Hey, when it comes down to it, we're an island, but we're really a small town, right? With less people coming through, because you don't get people just driving through, right? So there's all kinds of complexities out here, and it's got its own charm, and it certainly is, I'm glad that you're enjoying it and that you're sticking around for it. I've been here for a long time. I love it here too. And, some things are challenging, but it's like you make a choice. If it becomes too challenging, then, it's not worth it to you. And then you don't hang around. And if you dig in, you say, hey, this place is worth it to me, then you stick around and you make a difference. And this is me on a soapbox here for a half second, but the cool thing about being in a small town like this is how much of an impact one person can make. And I don't think that I would have had this kind of opportunity in the mainland. I know all our senators, I know all our legislators, Facebook friends with the governors, and who gets that, right? You get that kind of stuff here. Today, I'm invited to go to the luncheon with the former president of the Philippines because of all this stuff. This wouldn't happen to me just hanging out in Buffalo, New York, and all that. So this is a special place.
Yeah, I think that it's you're right. Some of that is the small town nature of it, but this place is also a small town without sacrificing. it's a connection to the broader world. Typically, small towns mean you're not going to have cool experiences like the president of the Philippines coming through, right? You're not going to have amazing, we have restaurants and stuff that cater mostly to that are here because of the tourist industry, sure. But even in other beach towns, right? It's not like this because we have this cool connection of different cultures, and small towns in America don't have 30 languages spoken. Only the biggest cities have that. It's a really, in my mind, best of both worlds way of living.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the stuff that you've written. I mean, you talk about like Saipan and all that. Have you been able to get around? I know you've been so busy on the case stuff, but have you gotten to Rhoda? Have you gotten to Tinian to see what it's like?
I've visited both Rhoda and Tinian. I've spent 2 weeks on Rhoda and 2 different trips, and I've only done day trips to Tinian. Rhoda's, it's magic. I every time, there's something really centering and calming about being on that island. I wish the whole thing was a national park. I think that would be a huge benefit to the Commonwealth and to the people there, and it would make it a lot easier to travel. There's a lot of precedent for that, where there's national parks where there's, people still have private land. It wouldn't be divesting everything from the locals. But where else can you have amazing, unique wildlife like the fruit bats and the crows, along with 3,500-year-old cave paintings, along with amazing beaches with crashing waves and amazing scuba diving, along with World War II stuff. National parks in the mainland, you might have one of those, but you're certainly not going to get all of them in an island that small. It's pretty. Rhoda's really incredible.
All right. Well, we kept you for a long time, and we would probably keep you here longer. Yeah, I think that's part of it. But that's coming in from some folks. Someone's asking about the Boost program, if there's going to be something broad about that.
Sure. I can speak to that for a little bit. The Boost program is we have one open criminal case on it, which is contempt of the House for their investigation into Boost. But my team has been assigned to investigate the Boost program. There's a lot there. So, there will probably be several different actions of various kinds, and some might be from collections just to try to recoup some money. Some might be criminal. The Boost program, I think it's important to have full transparency on what happened, because we need to make sure that that kind of federal money coming in is that we don't repeat that. And because at some point we keep doing that, the feds are going to stop sending us money. And if we're able to establish that it was used for corrupt purposes, then we'll proceed appropriately.
That's great. That's a big thing that people are paying attention to over the past few years, past couple, I should say. And they made a real big deal about it, building up to the elections and everything too. I mean, the hearings were really good. I don't know if you've watched all of those and some of the evidence. I'm sure you're privy to so much more because you're going into it. But right now, if some of this stuff were to, based on this, the rulings from this judge, would you even be able to bring any charges against?
Yeah, I'm not a special prosecutor in that role, right? So I was designated special prosecutor for this case, right, which sets aside the the connection over and regular oversight with the AG, et cetera. But then my other hat is as the managing prosecutor of the task force. There's not any prohibition on me bringing. I'm an AAG still, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if I brought charges specifically, one thing also is that the entire Boost course of conduct happened substantially after everything related to the investigations and everything related to the charged cases, right? It was all in he had already been charged whenever Boost was launched, announced, and run. So, you know, if I've got conflict on the case from before, it certainly doesn't seem like it would apply for one that was entirely, you know, over wrapped up.
All right. Well, interesting, because people are certainly curious to see what's going to happen with that. And by the way, I thought that especially, I know that we have a responsibility to oversee the folks who are handling the money that we get and what we do with it. But I saw a bunch of people saying, well, hey, the Fed should be involved in something like this. I imagine they would, and I imagine they would also, like you said, eventually they would stop giving us money if we're not doing the right thing with it. And I think it shows that we're doing our due diligence by researching it and finding out what happens to say, hey, sure, we did some bad things, or we did some things that weren't above board, but we've investigated it and we're taking them to task. So instead of waiting for the federal government to get involved, that we're actually, you know, taking the lead on it.
Absolutely. I mean, the way that I've tried to frame it is that we can't wait for the feds because we're not in control of what the feds do. Second of all, it's, you know, prosecuting a case. If I have, if I'm prosecuting, let's say a DUI case, and before the case even goes to trial, the defendant has started going to AA and stopped drinking and started, I don't know, volunteering at the soup kitchen, and you know, rather than waiting for him to be convicted and sentenced, that matters. That matters to the. Now, it doesn't mean that he didn't do the DUI in the first place, of course, but it does when it comes to what consequences are going to be whenever you take action to try to mitigate, ameliorate, fix. It always is going to be better than just waiting. You know, it's obviously not exactly apples to apples, but it is. I think that if we show to the federal government that we are doing our best, and that makes it easier for us to ask for help.
Awesome. Well, I know you told me you got another dance card filing to get to, I should say. I know you got another appointment a little bit later. And man, I keep saying that I'm going to let you go, and then I ask you another question. So I'll leave it at that for this time, for sure. But definitely want to say thank you for coming in.
Anytime.
And being in here. And hopefully if we can get you in again, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I can't talk about facts of investigations, but I'm more than happy to talk about procedures, policies. If anyone has any, if they want to help with cleaning up the corruption on the island, please reach out. And then, if you want to know my thoughts, please read my newsletter on Substack.
All right, and what's that address again?
It's jimbobkingman.substack.com.
All right. Well, I think that's what we've got for you today. I want to say thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in studio. We're going to throw to a commercial so I can say goodbye to these guys and thank them for coming in. Hey, guys, I'll tell you what. While this guy is trying to get our legal system in shape, you can get yourself in shape by going to the newest gym, the newest refurbished gym down the street in Chalon-Canoa. Right in front of the Aquarius Beach Tower is Laddie Built 24-Hour Fitness. They've got certified fitness trainers. They've got the coolest equipment. They've got great supplements. They've got everything you need. But don't listen to me. Go check them out for yourself and tell them that we said
is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness the proof. We do what we do by the rules in the book. We be a Lottie where discipline and vision is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness the proof. We do what we do by the rules in the book.
To be up 3-0, I'll tell you that. Probably is not great to be down 3-0.
I'm Brad Rosala, and I'm the owner for Commonwealth Communications.
And I am Jojo Alipuzu. I am the owner of Island Image and Ocean.
And this is our joint venture, Sideline Studios. This whole concept that we have of doing all these live stream productions and covering news and doing live shows and everything, it wouldn't happen if we didn't have a great partner like IT&E, someone who can handle the bandwidth and provide it and then get us what we need when we need it, and then be a real partner for us for all the events, whether we're doing live sporting events, broadcasts. All of these things happen because of our partnership with IT&E.
With IT&E providing us with the fiber and point-to-point and even the MBRs, is just a great piece of equipment to use when we're broadcasting our sports, our events, our performances, especially our cultural performances. And it's just great to share our culture here in the Marianas with the world. And IT&E has been there from the get-go.
The thing I like best about working with IT&E is how willing they are to come out and find a solution. Even for Liberation Day, we thought we had a pretty good solution for our live stream setup, and it turns out that we did not have the right setup that we thought we needed. That day, just before the parade, reached out to Paul and said, here's our situation. What do you think? He's like, we're gonna figure this out. While he's sitting there barbecuing, getting ready for the parade to start, he starts burning up the phone lines, calling everybody in IT&E, what can we do, what's the right solution? They left their families to do this stuff and get us the equipment that we needed to broadcast live. That's over and above. That's on a holiday. That's when he was out there spending time with his family.
That's why IT&E is just the best, just really in touch with the people and the community.
I recommend IT&E to everybody. Tell them the options are there, and you could choose whoever you want and then figure out what you think is the best. But when you're ready, when you're tired of having your calls disconnected or not having service, then you reach out to the guys from IT&E.
What does she say?
He says we have to hold on to what we got. It doesn't make a difference if we may or not. We got each other, or that's a love for love. We'll give it a shot.
Oh. All right. Hey, that's a special excerpt from karaokeing with Tobot and I. That's not true. That's not true. I love the internet. Thank you so much for giving us that gem. Oh, great stuff. Hey, you guys just tuning in. You missed out on a great interview with James Kingman, better known as Jim Bob Kingman. He is Assistant Attorney General, and he's the one in charge of prosecuting the former governor and about some of the charges that were brought about from the CNMI legislature. And we talked about the ruling from Judge Pro Tem Arthur Barcinas and what's going on next. So I guess the big takeaway is, if you missed the whole thing, is that they are going to file an appeal and go from there. So I want to say thanks for all your comments about all that stuff too, because that was great. It gave us the opportunity to ask a couple extra questions. And hey, that's what we do. That's what the cool thing is about all this. You know, we're able to take your questions, your comments, and we can throw them to our guests. And we're even able to take phone calls for stuff like that. Now, we didn't do that with him today, but we could do it for him next time. And I think hopefully, he said he'll come back anytime. So let's find out when that next time is and what the stuff is. I know he's a busy guy. And, you know, the thing is about that, you don't typically get folks from the Attorney General's office who have either they don't feel like they're able to provide a whole lot of information, or they don't feel really comfortable providing a lot of the information. So that's why this was a real special treat for us. You know, we were able to get some questions in and hear some real insight about some of the things that are happening in our world here in the Marianas. And it was a big deal for us. So I'm really glad and really thankful that we were able to get that, because, I mean, it definitely means a lot. I mean, you know, people want to know, and you don't want to just hear from some dude who's like hanging out online talking about stuff. You want to hear, I mean, of course, maybe a little. But you want to hear from the experts who are the people who are directly involved with these things. And again, it's not about taking sides or anything like that. It's just about getting all the information directly from them and then providing that. Oh, geez, we have other comments that came in that I just didn't see. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah, good to see all you guys. All right, hey, thanks for that. Thanks, Tobot. Really appreciate that stuff. I missed a bunch of your comments that came in. It was stuck. I just saw a little thing that said, there's a whole bunch of new comments here. Click here. So I did. Thanks for putting on the link to that Substack for him too. I'm sure he'll appreciate that as well, so that people can go there and find that. Anyway, today is not Thursday. Today is Friday. What is up with that ticker? Today is the 19th, and today is basically the day that we're going to meet the former president of the Philippines, which I think is pretty cool there. At least I got the date right now. Jeez, I was telling people it was Thursday, the 18th. It is not. Today is Friday. Anyway, we're just about 9 o'clock, but we won't get out of here yet. I tell you what we will do, though. We're gonna break down the local headlines as well, like we normally would on a regular day. And but before we do that, we are just a couple of clicks on the clock away from the latest from AP. Now, I have the latest one from an hour ago that I didn't share with you guys, but I'm just going to wait. We're going to wait 2 more minutes just to see if that new one's out, because I don't want to give you hour-old news. I will if they don't have it in time. But you know, the Associated Press comes out with an update every single hour. We want to give you that update at the top of every hour, and then we'll move on, because we do have good stuff to talk about today. And don't worry, Millie, it's not even baseball related. We'll do that later. I'll talk about baseball, but I don't want to lose you. Half a day, Johanna. Good to see you. It's always good to see you on there. Really, you're so active in following everything that's happening in our Commonwealth. It's really great when you get to pop in here and say hi. It's awesome. And, you know, one of the things that happened is from the guys that were in that building, they're right downstairs. They have some really big news coming out that from the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority. They got approved for up to $57 million from the U.S. Treasury Department under the Small Business Credit Initiative. And how cool is that? They're going to do loan programs, collateral support programs, loan participation. So it is really cool. Now, apparently, they don't actually distribute the loans, but they work with our local banks to get that money out to folks who qualify for it. And man, that is just fantastic. In a time when we could really use some help out here, especially like independent businesses, this is an organization that's helping to be the conduit from the federal government, between the federal government and those small businesses, to get some money in there to help grow their business and hope to spark our economy a little bit here. I know we're a tourism-driven economy, but there's a heck of a lot of local business here. If you don't think there's opportunity in our local economy, I think then you are in the wrong business and in the wrong place. There's so much opportunity here. And it is a great place for you to do business here in the Commonwealth. Now, are there... Ooh, I love that idea, Ann. There's another opportunity. Check that out. Make shout-outs and birthday shout-outs via video conference available. Ooh, we absolutely can. I love that, Ann. Geez, you're a genius. Man, I love that idea. Ann, you are just fantastic. Yeah, we could do that too. So I'll tell you what, let's do that. We got to put out, I'm going to have to make a little poster about that. Totally jumping off topic from what I was talking about. But I love that idea so much. And man, I think, let me put that on my list here today because we're going to have to make like a little poster to let people know about that. Send your, here, it's called GMM ideas. And it's like, what was the Laddie Cup? Hey, thanks, Eric. I really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in and checking us out. You know, it was really neat. I got to tell you, I do appreciate when you guys send the love and all that. It means a lot to me, certainly. But I was telling my daughter about it. We went to get gas yesterday, and while we were at the gas station, you know, we got the one guy at the pump, and then the lady who was inside. And like, oh, it's so nice to see you in person. I'm like, oh. And then the other one, like, hey, we really love your channel, really love the shows and all that stuff. I'm like, that was really cool too. And the kids thought it was cool, and I told them like, hey, you know, it is awesome because it does. It sounds great. It feels great. It makes you feel good, but don't put too much into what everybody's saying, though, because then if somebody says something about it not being great, it might hurt you a little too much. So, you know, try and keep it level and take it as like a constructive criticism or, you know, other ways to improve, you know, and that's my adulting lesson to them for sure. But I definitely love this idea about birthday shout outs. Really, and like for videos, live calls, and more. You know, that's something else we could do too, by the way. Like, and if you called and, or if you messaged us and you wanted us to wish somebody else a happy birthday, you know, we could do that. Like if all of a sudden we call somebody right now, it's like, you know, hey, is this Beat Tenorio? Happy birthday. You got a happy birthday wish from Anatol, you know, something like that. I love that idea. I think that's great. Hey, Piling, good to see you. Great to see you. But I love that idea. And then also, if people want to shoot their own, like if they don't have you know, if they can't do like the live call or something like that, but they want to shoot like a little selfie video and send it to us to put up and broadcast happy birthday like that, absolutely. I love this idea. And awesome. Oh, prank calls. Oh, so I could tell you that when we had a radio show in 2006, we did that. And it was a lot of fun. A singogram sounds great too. Do live prank birthday calls. I know we could do that. I'll tell you what though, when I did that in 2006, I mean, that's 18 years ago. Holy crap. That's how you know you get older. But when I did that in 2006 here, it was super fun. I had a lot of fun using a Dr. Phil soundboard. And man, it was so much fun when we pranked one of my friends. And we called her back again. And live on the air, that was back on AM 1080, the sports show with Brad and Sean. That was great. It was so much fun. Yeah, I love the prank call ideas. But I really love that idea. So folks, that's it. That's going to be our new segment. You know, and we'll put that on any day, every day. If you've got a birthday wish that you want to do, you want to shoot a video of yourself giving that birthday wish, send it to us. And you could WhatsApp it to us at 789-2323. So that's 670-789-2323. You could send it as a voice message too on WhatsApp. You could do it as a video on WhatsApp. Either way, I'll be able to play it. And if you want to do it live, you could do that too. So I think all that stuff is pretty cool. Holy smokes. That's what I need. I need ideas from great people and people who are watching. Really, you guys are like, this is just a lump of clay. That's we could call this show Your Lump of Clay. The YLOC. Thanks for tuning in. The YLOC, Your Lump of Clay, getting you everything you need from today. All right, so let me save that one real quick as I get on to the thing I was going to get to. Padal. Let me refresh to see if the latest update from Associated Press is available. It is. Hey, that's good news. So I'm going to get you the latest news that we got from the Associated Press. It's hot off the Associated Presses, but and while I do that, don't worry, we're not going to end the show. We're going to go for a while. We're going to go for at least another half an hour. So I'm going to grab the coffee that just got finished over there and play you guys away with the latest from the Associated Press. The 9 o'clock update is here.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. A renewed push from top Democrats to get President Biden to drop his re-election bid. Sagar Magani reports.
Sources say former President Obama has privately expressed concerns to Democrats about his former running mate's campaign, and ex-House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has privately warned the president Democrats might not win the House if he stays in. Congress's top two Democrats have also shown concerns.
Democrats are in a dark place.
And strategist Nathan Daschle says they cannot unite with the president atop the ticket. The Biden campaign rejects reports the president may be softening to the idea of leaving the race. Sagar Magani, Washington.
At the Republican National Convention, former President Trump is set to formally accept the party's nomination tonight. And Mike Hempen has the latest on the investigation into Saturday's assassination attempt.
2 people familiar with the investigation say the man who tried to assassinate Donald Trump had on his phone photos of the former president, President Biden, Attorney General Merrick Garland, and FBI Director Chris Wray. The sources say 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks had looked up dates for the Democratic National Convention as well as Trump's appearances. 3 people familiar with the investigation say the shooter also had searched for major depressive disorder. However, one of those sources says investigators haven't determined whether Crooks was actually diagnosed with the disorder. On Sunday, an FBI official said there was no indication of any mental health issues. Mike Hempen, Washington.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a surprise visit to troops in southern Gaza. In Russia, closing arguments tomorrow in the espionage trial of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. And in Bangladesh, clashes continue between police and protesters. Media reports say a total of 25 people have been killed since Tuesday. The demonstrations are over a system of allocating government jobs. This is AP News. Comedian Bob Newhart has died at the age of 94. Hi Panjwani has a look at his career.
The accountant-turned-comedian gained fame with the Smash album and became one of the most popular TV stars of his time. Newhart was a Chicago psychologist in The Bob Newhart Show in the 70s and a Vermont innkeeper on Newhart in the 80s. Both shows featured a low-key Newhart surrounded by eccentric characters. The second show had a twist ending in its final episode.
You won't believe the dream I just had.
What is it?
Well, I was an innkeeper in this crazy little town in Vermont.
The whole series was revealed to have been a dream by the psychologist he played in the other show. Newhart continued appearing on television occasionally after his 4th sitcom ended. I'm Haya Panjwani.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
All right, good morning. Welcome back. It is 9:10 in the morning. You're all updated from the Associated Press. You had an interview from one of the assistant attorney generals here. How about that? How often do you get one of those in-studio things, talking about a case that they're working on, a decision that just came out? It's just something that's not regular. I think that's great. I can't believe we got it. So I'm glad that he was able to come in and trust us with the interview, and I'm really thankful for that. And hopefully we hear more about it. I mean, like, you get these guys that come in from off island, and, you know, like he said, he thought it was going to be a 10-week thing at the most, right? 15 months later, he's still on the prowl. So it was interesting to, I don't know, for me, it's kind of like a journey, right? When I first moved here, I remember meeting folks who said, hey, you know, people aren't really going to invest in you until you've been here for a couple of years, but then people are going to start talking to you more. And over time, I got to see that more and more and more. And I didn't get it at first because I was always trying to make friends with people all the time. And then when I had been here when I started getting a little longer in the tooth, I got that. I totally got it. It's like, oh, there's a whole bunch, there's a new crowd of Howleys coming in that I don't know right now. And that's because I'm part of that old people group now. No. But I mean, that's kind of it. It's like, you know, maybe I'll get to know them, maybe I won't, you know. They're only going to be here for a couple years anyway. It's just, anyway, it's like that constant, you know, rotation and stuff like that, right? So, anyway, but I do like, you know, folks who seem like they're in it for the right reasons, of people who are interested in being here. And, man, it's a tough pull. It's a tough pull because he mentioned something similar to that about, like, people not wanting to ruin relationships or partnerships that they've had with people for a long time based on something that's only going to be done in less than 2 years. Yep, I see it. I know how that is, and you weigh the balance and all that other stuff. The other thing is that, you know, when you're here with your community and with everybody, you want to think the best of people, right? You always want to think the best of people. At least I do. And I don't want to assume anything negative about anybody because it's kind of poisons you if you do. And that person's like living in your head. You don't want that. But, like, you could genuinely like people. Like former governor, man, I genuinely love that guy. I mean, really, you can't be around him and not enjoy being around him. You know, his smile, his handshake, his jovial nature, you know, the bond with the family. Like, you can't not like him. You can't not like being around him. You know, that's just it. And you don't want to think anything negative about it. You know, you just got to wait and see how all this stuff shakes out and how it does all that stuff. So, again, you don't make those assumptions. Still, you can't stop talking about what is happening and how that stuff's going. The best I could do, is try and give everybody the info from as many people that can talk about it, you know? I mean, that's it. So, anyway, that's me. I certainly don't want anyone to... especially my kids, I don't want them to just blindly listen to what I have to tell them. I want them to have the facts, look at it, and figure it out for themselves. And then I get to have a nice conversation with them and find out what they think about it. And their decisions might be different from me, and then that means they're wrong. Okay, I know, kidding. Anyway, so we talked about getting to some of those local headlines, so let's get to them. Let's hit some of these things up here. But then again, you know, still, thanks to AAG Jim Bob Kingman for coming in and sharing like an hour with us. You know, an hour. It was legit an hour. And we'll look forward to looking back at that. All right, so CPA. Well, we were there at the board meeting last week with the Commonwealth Ports Authority. Thanks to heads up from folks letting us know when that is. Because we're still not on their radar. We're getting there. But we were there for that meeting. We streamed it live. You were able to see what happens, at least in that one. See a little frustrations boiling over a little bit. But stuff getting done, you know, things moving forward where they actually made a decision on what to do with RT&T. And now there's no more exclusivity at the Road to West Harbor for all their stevedoring services. And now the question is, what is next? Because we don't really know. All I know is that the folks in Rhoda need to know what's going on because there's still commerce that has to go through there. The only thing that is the people at Rhoda don't want to pay like $100 for a case of Bud Light. Sorry, Bud Light. I know your stuff is good, but even Bud Light doesn't charge $100 for a Bud Light. I know they don't. But still, it's like almost $50 a case for Bud Light from the store in Rhoda. That's like, we pay that at a bar, per can. Can you imagine spending like that much money just to go to the store to get like a can of Bud Light? I mean, that's why people go back down to Busch Light. Yes, I'm Tao Busch. And I'm all about, spending less money on all that kind of stuff for good stuff. Although, to be fair, I do get the benefit of going to the Troop store now. So some of the other stuff, like now my Busch Light is even cheaper. Like it's the cheapest. It's even better for those hot days. But still, like it's not fair. The inequities of the people who live everyday lives over there in Rhoda. There's already not a lot of business going there, and then the folks who are bringing stuff in there had to pay these exorbitant rates to get the stuff that is brought there off the boat to get it to their store. And then they had to pass those costs on to the customer because how else are you going to do it? I mean, it's a business, right? It's not like a partnership with your pal. I mean, you're bringing stuff in, you got to pay all the taxes and all that other stuff. So anyway, so they're going to have to find a new organization to help people with that. But there's no exclusivity on it anymore. And maybe that's the right thing. I can't imagine there's going to be an awful lot of competition to get in there to do that. But somebody needs to get in there to do that. And maybe that's what the RT&T guys were banking on for a long time because nobody had a solution. They didn't have a replacement. They didn't have an alternative. So they need to get stuff done. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up going back that way at some point. I mean, I think RT&T, they've been around for a long time, since 1986. So they could probably figure out what they did that people weren't particularly fond of and change it and see if that shakes it up a little bit. So I guess we have to wait and see. But all I know is that everybody in the Commonwealth wants the folks in Rhoda to have a better go at stuff. Because it's just really, life is hard enough over there in that island of beauty. That, man, I'll tell you, again, it's almost like a program. Like every time you go to Rhoda, you should bring stuff to give to your friends. Every time. Like every time, bring a case of beer, bring a case of chicken, bring a case of ribs. Like every time you should do that just to help people because they'll love it too. But you're definitely going to make a big impact on somebody. All right. So let's see what's moving on next. This is a good news, although the terms, like I feel like you can't use the word boost in any headline anymore because it's always like you got this feel like it's linked to the whole boost program, even though it's not. But it says the headline here on the Variety says the MVA says it aims to boost alternative tourism markets. It's not that kind of boost. It's a different kind of boost. But they do want to find other source markets, and they've got the right people in the room. When you've got Martin Duenas, the San Vicente bad boy, he's over there with Tomas Kim, and talking about what they could do for for new markets for the Marianas Visitors Authority. I mean, clearly we need to. And you've already got your marching orders from the governor. He's already said what he's going to say about China. And I don't think there's a lot of movement that's happening that way. So they've already been exploring different things with Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, and Australia. And hopefully that's going to yield some fruits for us now. I think the big thing is, remember way back, those Marianas Southern Airways guys were going to try to create a partnership. They were looking for more investors for Northern Marianas Airways. Or Marianas Northern, I don't remember which one it was. But either way, to try and get some travel back and forth on jets, not the propeller stuff, from like Palau and Australia and kind of create like a little network through here. And maybe that would end up happening. What maybe that's what it's going to take is that we end up, I mean, really look at Nauru. Nauru had to make its own airline. And they did, and it's there. And they're able to use that airline, by the way, to send its athletes all over the place when they have big events, right? For the big events, not all over the place. They're not sending them to Paris and stuff like that. Although if they are, that's cool. But I can't imagine that's the case. But for us here, that would certainly answer some issues with regards to United and getting to Guam and charging $1 million for that. But either way, I think something's happening in that world. But at least it's good to see that NBA is actually doing something about looking at some other markets. Because it's easy. This is not a... So there are some jobs that you have where it is so easy to have a job where you don't have to work very hard. And some of those government jobs, not all of them. No, this is not all of them. I'm just saying some government jobs are so easy to make it look like you're productive without actually doing much. And that's because you're able to check a box saying that you're doing stuff. Yeah, I did this. I wrote a press release. All right. Did it go? Who did it go to? Where did it go? We sent it out to we took an ad out in the paper, and we put an ad on the radio. Well, not everybody's listening to that stuff. It's not the same effective way of doing it anymore, especially if you're like in Tinian and Rhoda, right? The TV and the radio aren't the number one ways to go to reach people out there. What it used to be in Tinian is you put the poster up by the store, and you have to go there. They also went around with the mayor's office with speaker trucks, letting people know, the power is going to be turned off on Friday from 7 to 8. You know, like they would go around doing that and let people know, because that was an effective way to communicate to the people there. It doesn't check the box of, like the newspaper. If you put something like that in the newspaper for Tinian, you're not reaching the same folks. If you're going to put something like that on the radio in Tinian, you're not reaching the same folks again. So you got to do things that make the most sense if you're a CNMI-wide government organization, so especially for stuff like the NBA, right? So we talked about them a little bit in the past about like their events, and talking about this, about like how they could say that they're doing an effective job by, you know, reaching out to try to find other markets to bring people in. That's really it. You're all about the visitors. It's not just the same visitors, although it's easy to say that you are if you're only going for the same ones, because that's what people have been doing for the last 30 years, right? Japan, China, Korea, or not even in that order. Japan, Korea, China. So are there other folks? Yeah, keep going out there. Keep farming. It is really, they could almost call it the Marianas Farmers Association, because you need to farm new visitors to come here. You have to go out there, and it isn't like an overnight switch. You know, I know it's a lot of work, and it does take time. It takes a lot of money, too, to establish that stuff. But they got to go out there and one by one start making their way into those markets, and that's what they're going to try to do. And it won't be easy, and it will be a lot of work. Ideally, the thing is, the hope and the dream is to not spend a whole lot of money and get a whole lot of money back, right? I mean, that's it, to get more people coming in without having to lay out millions and millions of dollars. Fact is, though, we got to get our brand out there, and we need stuff to actually showcase. And that's something that's in the process, and they're still working on stuff. So, you know, they could definitely use some help for sure. And events here, like what's going on with Marianas Got Talent, that's going to be part of it. Guaranteed. They are doing a great job with it, with that Marianas Got Talent. I don't know if you saw them busking last night, you know, where they go out there and sing on the street. I don't know if you guys saw them do that at NC Picks last night, but boy, it's worth going out and checking it out. Imagine having a well-lit Garapan, that Western Garapan core area, where we've got more activities like that. I know it's not like the Paseo de Marianas, where nobody can park or drive or anything, but the sidewalks are so big, you're going to be able to do that on the sidewalks all the time anyway. You're going to be able to do more things, and then we'll have something for our tourists to come and do. Again, it's a massive topic of conversation, right? We got to tear down some of those garbage buildings that are there in Garapan. Like that old drinky place that's right across the street from Fiesta. I can't believe that thing is still there. The thing that is on the street between Crown. Oh, my God. Yeah, Brad, one of the first things you should do is start calling the hotels by the right name. Okay, good. You got me. Mea culpa. But between Crown and GIG is that little drinky shack. Not the good shack that's across the street. That's open from 8 to 2 Monday or Tuesday through Friday, and from 8 to 12 on Saturday and Sunday, right across the street, where you get love and food, and you leave fulfilled physically and spiritually. The Shack. I'm talking about that little drinky shack right across that's all beat up by typhoons. And boy, if those walls could talk, I'm sure they're it's terrible. Like that little shack is literally probably the B-52s made that song Love Shack based on that place. That thing needs to be raised. I don't mean lifted up. I mean with the Z. And that's not the only one. That old wax museum thing. You got to tear that thing down. And you got to condemn it. Send the message. Send the official letter to the building owners. It's condemned. You got 30 days to demolish it. If you don't demolish it, the CNMI will demolish it for you, and we will send you a bill. And if you're unable to pay the bill over a certain amount of time, we are going to take that. We're going to auction off that property. We're going to auction off that property. They're fantastic people. And then we're going to open it up for development. And then that whole area needs to be rezoned so that people need to keep doing stuff to make it look good. And if you don't, you're out. You lose it. You got to move somewhere else. Russian roulette should come back in Chicago 1 and 2. Tobot, I have an issue with that because Russian roulette now is replaced by a really good Chinese food place. That was it. Also, I don't remember Chicago 1 ever. Chicago 2, I may have a memory or two in there. I'm sure that there's a few people in Saipan that would say the same thing. It's amazing some of the things I saw in that place. I'll tell you, in an economy now, the way the economy is now, and inflation and all that stuff, man, the things that you would get for $1. Oh, good times. I was mostly a spectator at that place. And that was fun just to see some of my friends do some really goofy things. And not just even them, just other people in the community. Oh, my gosh. And now it's a Panda Waffle House. The Panda Waffle House, what's the other place over there? There's a couple little places in that building. Do you really need a Panda Waffle House? And King's Club is gone. By the way, King's Club has such a cool building itself. Like that rooftop area where it looked like that would be a cool open air bar area. Like that building looks awesome. I think that's where the cane juice place is. The Tupu cane juice is downstairs. But then it was like King's, and then it was like the rooftop place. That rooftop place looks like it could be like a real legit overlooking a vibrant Garapan. A nice, well lit up activities in the streets, all that kind of Garapan. A place like that would look awesome up there. Club Jama. Oh my God. I love that you know all these names, Tobat. I remember, so Club Jama, maybe we'll do a salute to strip clubs. one episode. Tell us your favorite memory of this place, and we'll go down the list. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, what's that place behind Gold Beach that had the billiards? I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember that place. Oh, it was a pool hall that also had a stripper pole. Man, I don't know. We could. Oh my gosh, good times. I'm gonna I will save some stories for that episode. I think that we should absolutely do that. But let's send people away with some good stuff, because what I definitely want to do, I want to capitalize on that idea, Ann. I love your idea. Send us your video birthday greetings. Send us your greetings for anybody. You could send them as like anniversary greetings. You never know. Your congratulatory greetings, all that stuff. You can send that stuff to us, and I think that would be really cool. I mean, like, really, I think that's a great idea. Especially, again, the audio thing. You could even WhatsApp to audio to do that. In fact, here, like, I haven't done this before, so let's do that now. I'll do the, this is my phone, and I can do to the show phone like, hey, happy birthday, Ann Attow. You're now 28 years old, and you're awesome. All right, so just to give you an idea of what this might sound like. All right, let's see if that pops up over here. Now, I would go through and download it, but I wonder if I just press on it now. Like, let's see. Hey, happy birthday, Ann Attow. You're now 28 years old, and you're awesome. There you go. So that was just one of the WhatsApp messages I just played directly from the phone. So, like, I would download it and get it ready and all that stuff. But, like, if you send me, like, those kind of voice messages, maybe you got a thought about something, that's something that we could do. What an untapped market I haven't even thought about. Ann says, Brad, on your 2024 Halloween show, you got to have a poll. Oh, my gosh. I love that idea. But no. I'll need some dancers. You know, it'd be cool. We could put it right out here, right outside in the CDA building, right in the lot behind, or in the little pathway right behind us. People could be doing that, and they'll be on there. We'll get the disco ball going, and I think that could be a big win. I think people would love doing it. We'll just tell people it's for fitness, a little bit of training. I mean, I think that's it. I think that'll get people in there. Anyway, it is 9:31 in the morning. Bad idea. Everyone will crash. Yes. Oh my God, USSP. Oh my gosh. USP was great, Eric. I'm telling you. You know what? I remember USP so well. It was the music plays, get up and dance. Music stops. Everyone sits down and gets a cigarette. And then they'll start the music again, and then everyone get back up again and dance. The best advice I got back then, this is like 2003, 2004. It's like, hey, dude, you do not go in that place by yourself. You're going to get killed. That's my local friends. Like, no, you can go. You go with me. No, do not ask that girl to dance, dude. She's with that guy, even if they're not with that guy right now. That's who that is. Don't do it. Don't do it. So I had to go. You have to go with your own. Taboo. There's the name. Yeah, but USP, that was it. You got to dance with the girl you came with. You definitely can't go fishing at USP. You're going to get yourself in a world of hurt, especially if you're just some rando Holly dude. You don't want to be that guy. Thankfully, I had some good friends keep taking care of me on that front. Anyway, guys, that's what we got. Maybe we'll reconvene with our salute to Saipan exotic dancing establishments. I love that. If we do it, we'll save that for next week. We'll try and stay classy for now. We'll do it burgundy style. All right, guys, that's what we've got for today. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. This show is nothing without you guys. It really isn't. It's like I get to have a conversation with you guys almost like you're in studio. I get to take any ideas that you have, get them to roll them into the show and make it something. And that's not just this show. It's for every broadcast that we have. When we do live press conferences, when we do live sporting events, we bring you along with us. You are part of it with us. And I can't tell you how cool that is. I mean, it really is. It's like every time I do this, I mean, I feel like I'm going to work with my pals every day. That's great. You know, it's awesome for me, and I hope you guys are liking it too. Anyway, we'll give you guys, I hope you guys have a great weekend. You earned it, you deserved it, and man, I hope it is everything that you need, and I hope the weather is everything that you want so that you can enjoy it. So thanks to you guys for tuning in. We'll be back again on Monday morning at 7 o'clock, where we're going to bring you all the news, sports, weather together, and guests. We'll have John Gonzalez is going to come in next week. Hopefully, we're going to see Rep Probst. He's a candidate for U.S. delegate also. Have him come in next week. See if we can continue. Oh, my gosh. Continue hiccuping our breakfast. And continue. Maybe we should get Kim King-Hines back again. And get regular updates from these guys. Let us know what's happening on the campaign trail. Because it's the most... I would say the most important race, because it's the first time someone not named Kilili Sablan is going to be representing us in the United States House of Representatives. So, whew, I think that's it. It was a long day. You guys be great. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to finish a great cup of coffee, and I'll be looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks again for tuning in. Oh, wait. Before I go, you got to check this shack and see if they have any more of this cheesecake. They are single-handedly turning the cheesecake world on its head. They had a Black Forest cheesecake the other day. Oh my God, this is the creamiest, biggest, thickest, most robust piece of dessert you ever had. And I'm a little partial to that apple cinnamon one. Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh. You guys, look, if you're enjoying your coffee, go over there and get one of those and have that with your coffee. And have some of their coffee. They got some great stuff over there. All right. If that's not tempting enough, you got to go see it for yourself. All right. We'll see you guys later. Now have a great weekend.
Good morning, Marianas. So many things we gotta discuss.